Mr. Walker. A member made the following observation and has asked this question. During this last year, we have watched on repeat how conservative representatives throughout Tennessee have at times caved to a woke ideology. A glaring example was a commissioner's failed resolution last September, which would have effectively solidified the county's commitment to protect children's innocence by disallowing taxpayer money going to nonprofits that promote the sexualization of children. What is your take on what happened, and most importantly, would you have supported this resolution? More generally, what is your resolve when it comes to similar issues before the Knox County Commission?
It's a big question, because I think the first part of it was about others across Tennessee and all that, so I can speak for myself, obviously, as far as that goes. Bottom line, I don't want any money spent for anything that has to sexualize anybody, for that matter. Especially not the kids of our community. I mean, that's the worst possible thing you can do. Look at Bella over here, but it's like, there's that option where, why are we spending money on this? Why are we supporting anything, for that matter, that does anything other than put kids on playgrounds so they can play and be themselves and just learn from their schools and all the other things? There's so much trash that we're coming at these kids, just in general, from all of us when we were, middle school all the way up. There's so many pressures. Why are we adding to it? So I think when you see stuff like this, it's more of a community issue. It's kind of a general culture of why are we allowing this stuff to happen? I'm against it. I mean, if you want to point, I'm against that. But so it just comes down to us. It comes down to the parents too, reaching out to the parents and going over, hey, we need to understand these things are happening in our community. We cannot bury our head in the sand and just say, oh, it's not going to happen here. There's no way it's going to happen. We need to step up and understand what's happening in our community and shut it down.
I definitely agree that some of the things that's going out there, especially like Brian said, with the sexualization of kids is just not acceptable, and I would definitely be standing against that for sure. So, and as we need to make sure we're hearing our voices. If we see this stuff going out there, we need to really get organized. Let your commissioner or your representatives know that this isn't acceptable. So I would definitely that's not sending taxpayer money for that for sure.
I am unapologetically conservative. So I would have put in the second for Rhonda Lee's resolution.
Thank you.
And I also, if people think it's okay, then it should have been okay for someone on the commission to stand there and read some of this literature to everyone. And if everyone in the room didn't blush, then I guess it's okay. But if people in the room blushed, then there was an issue.
Thank you. That brings us back to, did you start?
Yeah, I just started.
Okay, so back to you.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Skidmore, what have you personally done to preserve District 5's way of life, and what were the results of your work? This question, they asked that you be specific about that.
Okay. Can you repeat the question?
Absolutely. What have you personally done to preserve District 5's way of life, and what were the results of your work?
Well, I think the results, what I've done is I've created, being a small business owner, I've created jobs, I've met a payroll. So through my business, I've been able to, provide employees a way of life where they're out prospering in our community. So I think that's the biggest thing that I've done, is been able to, create jobs through my business. So,
Thank you.
I have worked in my HOAs, which has helped my individual communities. Created and helped organize and found the North Shore Chudlow Landing HOA group. We went out and went door to door and grabbed people got them involved to get the road expanded, which is pending. We also opposed Choto Landing, which was very successful. We were able to get that, so that it didn't go through. Years ago, back in, I think it was 2016, I helped oppose another development where they were wanting to rezone a piece of property from residential to commercial. And it was supposedly for a Suboxone clinic. And I was involved with that group, and we opposed it, and it did not go through. And subsequently, the person that was wanting that rezoning has now been indicted for drug trafficking and money laundering and some other things. I would say that if you feel like something doesn't smell right, it isn't right, you should probably stand up and say something. So that's, I'm gonna do that.
The biggest thing I've done is just get involved in District 5. So from the day I moved here, it was getting involved. Coming to meetings like this, meeting the sellers, and coming to these meetings for a couple of years now. And when I first moved here, my daughter, again, she was going to her junior year of high school. I was very involved in her junior ROTC. She was part of that before she became Virginia Tech, so I was helping the students with that. I also, the martial arts studio that I had in California, that was also off Cedar Bluff. I won't give a plug for it, but we're off Cedar Bluff. So I was able to volunteer my time and work with the youth as well, doing that, teaching them martial arts and that kind of thing. And I try and just give back to the community as much as I can. But right now I'm sitting around with my buddies and we're all talking and we're all going over different things. And of course, politics always comes up. We start getting in arguments about what's happening here, and this is over the summertime, And you get to that point where you're just sitting around going, all right, it's time for me to get involved. So that's what I'm doing. I'm stepping up now. If I couldn't be here 10 years ago, if I didn't win the lottery, I wasn't born and raised here, but I'm here now, and I'm here to step up and be a commissioner. Thank you.
That brings an end to the questions that people submitted, okay? Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna give anyone an opportunity that might want to ask a question. I would just ask that you raise your hand, I'll call on you and let you ask a question. We're not gonna do multiple follow-up questions, ask one question. That way everybody who wants to ask a question has an opportunity to do that, okay? Yes, sir.
Angela, you mentioned about widening North Shore.
Yes, sir.
What about the bridge that's next to the park and Safe Harbor Marina? That bridge is so narrow.
Are you talking about the one that is at the actual park, or
Yes.
the bigger bridge that goes across the?
Once you go towards the east, the marina, and that park right next to it, I mean, it is tight. And one of these days, it's gonna be deadly.
Yes, it is.
And I know that would be a huge project, but if there was 2 feet on each side of that bridge, there won't be any fatalities, but someday that's gonna happen. I can tell you.
They are saying that they are going to widen the road 2 foot on each side, where they can. I'm not an engineer, so we went and we engaged the commissioners, we engaged the people who had the authority to budget the money. And they have talked with the actual engineers, the road engineers, and we're told that it's gonna be widened 2 foot on each side.
Would that bridge be a state bridge or a county bridge?
Everything from roundabout to roundabout,
Yeah.
that area,
Yeah.
everything from roundabout to roundabout is the county. That's the county.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
February 8th, the Planning Commission votes on advanced Knox. On February 22nd, the County Commission votes on advanced Knox. On March 14th, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen vote on advanced Knox. So it fails if any of the bodies vote it down. You had mentioned, our moderator mentioned about the crisis in our emergency rooms. Now, right now in Choto, you have a minimum 3 lots per acre, but you're in the yellow on the map. You'll go from 7 to 16 units an acre. I don't think anybody would object if the new people come here at 3 units per acre, because that's what we all have. Advanced Knox, I would ask all of you, it seems that it would create a crisis for emergency rooms, that it has not been well thought out. If you were a commissioner on February 26th, would you vote it up or down, and why?
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Walker. We'll let him answer it first.
For as much knowledge, and I've looked at the advanced Knox and gone through the whole thing, you said 16 or 17 lots per acre?
No, not now.
No, right, what was the proposal? You lost me with those numbers.
The density will go up greatly if you're in the yellow on the map.
Right.
Shoto's in the yellow, and so is North Campbell.
I'm getting lost on the 16, 17 you said. Is that people?
Units per acre, homes.
Okay, homes. I didn't know it was that much. I mean, I thought we're looking at, we're talking about Harvey Road and all that stuff, you know, they got approved for three units per acre. It was gonna be 2.5 is what they're looking at now, so 17 is a big jump from that, so.
In the
I'm
yellow-
not saying no, I'm just saying.
In the yellow, it's a big jump.
Yeah, it will be, yeah. I have to look at the proposal for the whole thing. And you're talking, if we're talking just specifically District 5, does that include, can we separate that from the rest of the county as well?
I don't think so. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a unified plan.
Yeah, I have to look at it, see if we can send it back, whether we can do it different in District 5. That's, I think.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Ms. Russell?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought we were going that
Oh,
way.
yeah, we can do that, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Stevens?
You know, I think that, my understanding, there's gonna be much more work on that. I don't think the, planning commission or county commission, I don't think that's gonna be the final vote, is my understanding, on advanced Knox. There's more, details to be worked out on that. I don't think all of the final plans have been finalized, is my understanding. So I would have to, you know, I would have to see the rest of those details of this process.
Ms. Russell?
I would like to say, from the beginning on the Advanced Knox, I actually attended the meetings at some of the schools. I don't know if anyone else went and wrote on their little stickies and put them up on the board. But anyway, it was, the premise of Advanced Knox was beautiful. The premise was, we're gonna go out and we're gonna get people's input on what they want done in this county, how they want it developed, how much development they want, what types of development they want. So the premise was great, because we should be having input from the people who live here. And a lot of us went and did that. They took the answers, which if you read the entire document is several hundred pages long, they took the answers, which the majority of the people said, we need to slow it down, it's going too fast for the roads, the waits in hospitals are enormous, people are falling, not being able to get an ambulance there to take care of them. And they took that and they said, well, people want development to be more smarter development, which is great. But their definition of smart development, I think, is different from the definition of the people who filled out the stickers and put them on the board. And if I were there, I would vote against it, because we need to know, one of the things is they're putting this in and they're saying, okay, this is gonna be the type of zoning or you know, what we're gonna call this, it's either gonna be suburban or agricultural. But we need to know what exactly that is. What are they defining? What's the number of units they're wanting to put with that? They're putting the cart before the horse again. Instead of knowing the entire picture, they're wanting to sell us a piece at a time. And we need to stop that. We need to say, we want to know exactly how many units does the S mean? How many units does the agricultural?
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you guys for being here tonight and, you know, taking our questions.
Can't hear you.
This is for everybody. So what is your understanding of a TIF, and how do you perceive its role in the development within our county?
Can you explain, just so everybody
Yeah.
here will know,
Yeah.
what is a TIF?
I want them to explain it.
Oh, well, will you just explain it to everybody, just so everybody will understand the context of the
Okay.
question?
So a TIF is a tax increment financing that some people can get for their developments here in Knox County.
Okay,
So
Thank you for explaining. Yeah, Mr. Skidmore, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, I'd be glad to answer that. I think each development or each situation would be a case for case. I mean, I think some of the development as you look in downtown Knox Forward, they're wanting to, develop more. I think that, TIFs have probably been a good thing there, but in other areas, we have to decide whether it's a good decision, if it makes sense, if it's good for the 5th District or it's good for Knox County, then that option, should be on the table.
Thank you. Ms. Russell?
And I think someone's dropped a ring or something there, just.
No, it's so large.
Oh, okay, just wanted to make sure we're recording. So as far as TIFs go, they have a place, but they have a very limited place. If a project is not going to be able to fund itself on an individual private basis, and I would use the baseball stadium as an example, why are the taxpayers funding that? Why are the taxpayers helping to put money out there? Personally, I feel like those millions and millions of dollars should have been spent on our roads. Roads are a necessity. We need to get back to basics. Government was not created so we can go to a ball game. Government was created so we can safely get to our jobs, to earn a living, and pursue happiness ourselves. The government was not created to give us happiness, but to allow us to pursue happiness.
It was funny. I was hoping she was gonna miss the baseball thing, but I was gonna bring that up too. And I agree, sports complexes and everything else, they hold their place, they hold their value and everything else, but as far as taxes and taxpayer money go, that's a very difficult situation. I mean, TIFs, pilots and everything else was, somewhat legal, but, have a place for certain areas and certain needs that go into the community, but yeah, it needs to go for the people itself, and that, if it's needed to build a certain development so people can live better in a certain area, they held their place, just like she said, so that's my thing. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question, and you might be able to answer. So in California, they have Proposition 13. Are you familiar with that?
Remind me.
It's where a developer comes in and they pay for the development and pay a certain amount that goes to the community that they're building in.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I think should be implemented here, not taxpayers dollar paying big developers that come in, have a long-term income, while the taxpayers who barely making it, who have lived here long and is being outpriced because developers are bringing people in. And I don't know if it's a question or a statement, on the point of rescue mural and the rescue teams and everything, we're gonna take taxpayers' money who's paid into here and put it towards people to develop and bring people in, while we can take that same taxpayers' money and provide the services that people here need. That I think is something, and I strongly support Angela with that, because taxpayers' money needs to stay here and not give to people to come and make money off of us. It's for our infrastructure. We build here, and I'm very passionate about this area. We build here, we stay here, our family, our future, and everything is here. I really don't like to see this area turn into Atlanta, Chicago, Denver, nowhere. Tennessee is an amazing place. Yeah. And I can say that because I'm a world traveler, and I've seen, and I travel the US, and I've seen what has happened, what is happening, and I don't want that to happen here. And gradually, the years I've lived here, I can incrementally see where we are changing to that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm not sure if there's a question there or not, but I can actually do the same thing with that. That's why I'm running for county commissioner, is because I've seen those incremental things as well. Like, I've got here and everything's great, and then I start hearing the language what's going on? These people are doing this, and these people are doing that, and they're proposing these kind of things. It's like, I've heard that story before. I watched that movie before, the ship sinks at the end. I've seen that. And I want to stop that. So I'm with you. That is the same exact thing, and that's why I'm stepping up to be county commissioner. So thank you.
Mr. Kenmore, do you have anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to definitely hold the developers responsible for the development, because at the end of the day, once the project's done, they're leaving, and the citizens are the ones that are left behind. So we need to make sure that it is, responsible development, and make sure that we're, holding them accountable to do what they say they're gonna do on the front end.
Ms. Russell?
Absolutely, you're preaching to the choir. We need to actually probably have impact fees. I would say that I feel like we do need impact fees. A lot of the development that we have going on isn't even development from people who live here. These are outside, large corporations. They're not, Joe down the street that owns a small company that's building a couple of houses a year, or 2 or 3 houses, and supporting his family. These are large corporations. They're coming into our community. They're determining what type of development we're going to have, and they're leaving us with a mess. And we need to make sure that if they're going to continue in development and develop, that they're paying for the cost.
Miss Jeannie has told me that we are running out of time, so we're going to respect that. Miss Grace wants to go home as well this evening. So let's just all give all these candidates a big round of applause.